The Sigma 18 to 35 on the Sony a6000? Why? What is good, YouTube? It's That One Camera Guy back at again with another video for you. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a hypothetical situation with some samples and examples of whether or not you should use the 18 to 35 with your Sony a6000. Stay tuned. If you're new to my channel and you're finding it for the first time, I go by That One Camera Guy. I make videos, tutorials, guides, and reviews on the Sony mirrorless system. If you'd like to catch the latest content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell when I produce content every single week on my channel. And my old subscribers, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button and let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I already own the 18 to 35 f1.8 from Sigma. So let's get that out of the way. I figured I need to make some content, so I wanted to see, hey, does the 18 to 35 pair up very well with the a6000? The 1835 is a really highly regarded lens, and if it was made for E-mount, minds would explode, literally. And people in cinema use it, photography, in all walks of life. It's a really great APS-C lens. So why this lens in particular? The reason is Sony does not make a fast aperture zoom lens. They don't even have an f2.8 APS-C lens. You'll have to buy a full-frame lens like the 24-70 G Master, and who in their right mind is going to spend $2,400 if you're just starting out? Now, why the 18 to 35, right? It's fast aperture zoom, right? You're getting f1.8 constant aperture from 18 to 35. You're practically getting 3 prime lenses in one lens. And I've only heard so many good things about it. It pairs well with the Alpha 6500, especially in video, because it has in-body image stabilization in the Alpha 6500. So what benefit do you get with the Alpha 6000 using this combination? So for a couple of things, at f1.8, you're gonna get some really good low light performance. So if you do a lot of evening type stuff or shoot in low light environments, f1.8 is a good thing. Secondly, using this lens, you're going to have not only control of your perspective, your zoom, but you're going to get better control over your depth of field. If you want to knock out the background, you definitely can with this kit. And another cool thing we're going to look into is that since we're using the adapter, you actually can get really close to your subject. Like the minimum focusing distance is even shorter than it normally would be if you were using it on an APS-C camera, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But with using an adapter to the E-mount system, you can get really close up to your subject and get even more shallow depth of field and even create a different look and perspective. So I don't know if it's really macro shots, but you can get really close and get some really interesting photos that way. Let's talk about reality. Okay, the Sigma 18 to 35, wherever you might get it, used, online, eBay, Amazon, B&H, whatever location. You're gonna look to pay around between $700 to $800. You might find it for $650, maybe refurb a little bit cheaper. Again, check the description below, might find some deals. So the 18 to 35 is a very expensive lens, and it's not necessarily the lens you think about getting, but when you think about it, the 16 to 70 f4 is around the same price, if not a little bit more. Now, granted, you get a compact lens that zooms, but it's only f4. With the 18 to 35, you're getting a really wide variety in the wider end, and 35 is a really good general lens focal length to work with, even 24 millimeters. Think about it this way, the Sony 24 f1.8 APS-C lens retails for almost $1,000 US. You're getting a bunch of little primes in this, so it's definitely something to consider. But let's go back to reality. All right, so there's some added secret costs. One, you're gonna need an adapter. Now I have 3 adapters. I have the Comlight, the Sigma MC11, and the Metabone Smart Adapter. I think I've got version 5, and they're all priced differently. Now in terms of performance and which one you should get, let me go ahead and break it down for you. First, let's go over the Comlight adapter. Number 1, I would only get the Comlight adapter if you just need a pass-through. And if you're fine with manually focusing with this lens, which, by the way, I have a tutorial on that. Super easy to do, especially with this particular camera setup. And it makes it so easy. You can manual focus with this thing like with your eyes closed, nearly, okay? That's how good it is. So if you just need a pass-through adapter, you might want to look at the Comlight, and there might be some cheaper options out there. You're gonna pay about $70. Now, it can autofocus, but in my testing, autofocus did not work at all. So that's out of the question. The next one I'm going to recommend is the Metabone Speed Boost, not Speed Booster, but the Metabones adapter. And that one retails for $400, so it's a bit more expensive. You're going to get a wider array of compatibility, especially if you have non-Sigma lenses. Let's say you have a Canon 7200 and these other different ones out there. You're going to find a little bit more compatibility using the Metabones adapter. So that's where I like the Metabones at. So in autofocus single, I think this one does pretty good. So if you do need autofocus, AFS single shot, the Metabones does a decent job, okay? It's not going to be blistering fast, but it's decent enough if you absolutely needed autofocus. The Sigma MC11, so going to the third adapter, is just a little bit faster with regards to its usage on this particular combination. I would hope so, right? Since the adapter is built and designed for the Sigma 18-35. Now, it doesn't have full compatibility on the Sony a6000, which is really, really strange, and I wish Sigma would find a way to make it work 100%. But the autofocus single is a little bit faster than the Metabones just from my testing. It is about $200, $250 depending on where you're getting it, whether it's refurbed or not. And AFC, autofocus continuous, does work on both. Like the Metabones works and this one does work, but it's not something you would reliably use for sports. You're pretty much going to stick with AFS. That's the way I would look at it. So if you need autofocus, get the Sigma MC11. That's my recommendation. The Metabones, on the other hand, is if you have a wide variety of Canon lenses, non-Sigma lenses, that's the one I would look at. It is pricier, so just keep that in mind. Now let's go over handling. First of all, this lens is going to be front heavy on your Sony a6000. It is a heavy lens, so you're going to have to train yourself to get used to it. I'm not really bothered by this. I have really large hands and I'm used to carrying large heavy lenses, and I just balance the lens out the way I shoot, so it doesn't really bother me a whole lot. The zoom ring is very, very nice on this lens from 18-35. You can absolutely love it, no problems whatsoever. The focus ring is well dampened. This is not your typical focus by wire manual focus like you would get on a regular Sony lens. So you are getting precise, or pretty good precise control over that focus, making that focusing process buttery smooth and making it so easy to do. Highly, really like the focus ring on this. So what I did was I went out, tested the lens. I went out to my backyard. You guys already know a lot of the stuff in my backyard. It's not too super exciting. And I went ahead and shot with manual focusing. So here are some of the results and some of the images that you're seeing play out. Images look good, they look sharp, very, very happy with the results. I might have teetered a little bit back and forth in some cases, but for the most part, I thought the images did really well. I even went really up close to some subjects, switched out from f1.8 to f4, f3.2, so I tried a variety of different apertures, although the adapter was reading at f1.7, which was really, really odd. So that is the images and manual focusing. It was super, super easy, very, very fun to use. Now let's go over some of the image quality results. Let's go over sharpness. In terms of sharpness, I shot that step ladder again, and I shot at 18 millimeters, 24 millimeters, and at 35 millimeters, as you can see in the examples pop up. I noticed that it was sharp all the way through. I think, but when you go from 1.8 to like 2.0 to 2.8, 2.8 is very, very sharp already. 1.8 is pretty good, right? 2.8, very, very sharp already. At either focal length, 18, 24, 35, very, very good. In terms of vignetting, I went ahead and shot one of the sidewalls on the house, and you're gonna notice that the vignetting is pretty heavy and it's soft in the corners. It's sharp in the center, where this lens kind of makes a lot of sense because it is a large aperture prime lens. Well, large aperture prime zoom lens, so you're not getting really good corner sharpness. And I think there's some, I don't know the right term, pin cushion, or I really gotta channel in my Christopher Frost. But anyway, point being, there is vignetting. It doesn't clear up until like f4, I think, for most of it. At 35 millimeters, the vignetting is really, really bad, wide open, and it starts to clear up as you go down to like f4, where it's almost gone. But again, center sharpness, very, very good. Corner sharpness is gonna be a bit soft. So that is the way I would look at it on this particular lens, but I think you're mainly focusing in the center area, central region of this lens overall. So there you go. That's the 18-35 f1.8 constant aperture zoom lens. It is a very interesting lens. The question you might have for yourself is this the right lens for me? I think it's kind of a hard sell when you're doing it for the a6000. I think there is some other cheaper options out there. that you can get, especially if you're just going to manually focus your lens. But it is nice to have a range of 18 to 35 all in one lens, but you are going to lose things like portability, compactness. It's going to be a bit heavy, and you're going to have to manually focus at times if that's something you're not super comfortable with. That might be a con for you. But overall, good things about it: image quality, large aperture zoom, prime, good low light performance, and those are really interesting things on my end. Would I buy it? For me personally, maybe not. I think I would look at the Sigma 18 to 35 if I owned maybe the Alpha 6300 or the Alpha 6500. I would consider it. But with it as an a6000 user, it's something I wouldn't consider right away. It's not the go-to lens, but it was fun to check it out. Guys, if you got any value out of this video, give it a like, subscribe, check out my other content, check the description for any of the links in the description below. And with that said, I'm your host, that one camera guy, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.